Thank you for some great days. It's been fantastic. I think it is very funny. We have an agenda for today. We had some questions regarding how we produced the event, how we did it. So I'll start speaking a little bit about the administration. When we go through these things, I know Mr. Thompson will talk about the Ethiopian project, which we decided last year. And then we go on to enter the next venue. What would you like to have in the next venue, the content of 2013? It would be very interesting to hear. And if you have any comments, just fill in. I know some of you have planes to catch, so if this takes too long, just rise up and leave. But hopefully we can do it in an hour, I think something like that. Producing the 2012 has been me, Björk, Jens Henrik, and then Mr. Ekfeldt, of course, and thank you for having us again. We've had approximately 3 meetings, and in those meetings we've been deciding on the content, fixing the venue so that we were sure that we could host it at your event, at your place, and do like the logistics you saw for the couple of days. And in that we had Lars with us from your company in the end, but he was not very much part of the decision of saying what should the content be. And the content has been driven from the 4 of us saying what is it that we would like to tell you guys for 2 days. Producing the next year event, hopefully some of you will raise your hands today, and in doing that we will, the administration and the roastery, find out what should be the content for 2013. So that's my idea about it, but of course you have ideas among you, and we will take that in the content 2013. The money-wise, we put up a price for this year, which is the same price as the NPC, but this is only 2 days. And we think that price level is not too expensive, not too cheap, but still it covers the cost. And since we have some of the sponsors from the NPC also sponsoring this event, it makes more or less a zero of what's going on. NPC is earning a little bit of money, and those money goes to the NPC Foundation. And this Nordic Roaster event is getting close to being a zero thing. Money-wise for next year, I don't know if we should raise the price or not, but we will take that discussion when we take 2013, I think. What is your opinion about the 2012 event? What did you like? What didn't you like?
Can I just start by saying what we actually agreed on last year? So we can, I think, so the minutes from the board meeting last year were brief, but we want to keep the venue in the Nordic countries, 2 days, preferably Friday, Saturday. Only for roasting professionals, yes. No Nordic roaster competition during the forum. Let's make Nordic roaster during NPC. Let's update the Nordic roaster rules. More professional and focused lectures. I think we did that pretty well. And ideas for last year were some of the things that we talked about this year, like direct trade, how's the trade working at origin, change of chemistry in bean for roasting, coffee linguistics, direct trade, difference in organizing the direct deal, and term specialty coffee. How do we get the term out to the consumers? And instead of roasting, let's learn more about origin. How do we get better coffee from origin? How to import, export. And to invite people from origin so they can come here and learn. Let's change the term charity, call it development. There are many ways to support. One thing is to make the Nordic Roaster Foundation to help small farmers with microloans and investments. We'll get back to that later. It will be in Stockholm. Yeah, I think that was basically it. So now we all have the same page. We're starting on idea or evaluations for this year. Is that what you were asking about, right?
Yeah, evaluation for this year, what was good, what was bad. If we have to make an event, if we want to make an event next year, it should be a bit better than this year. I think this year's production went smoothly, a bit better than last year. Tim?
Overall, I like the event a lot. I think the content was interesting. Some a little bit less interesting for me, but that's how it goes. but mostly it was quite interesting. One of the things that I found it was very sort of relaxed, and I felt it's a low-key, not too much stress, and the bar for speaking to people is quite low. The only thing negative I think is the venue was quite far away from the city, and it could have been like organized a bus or something back and forth, at least back. Yeah, to make it a little easier.
So if we, in the evaluation, there's 3 levels for me, perhaps more, but content, venue, and copying. Like, I mean, the copying is a big part of what we're doing. Did you like those, and any mistakes?
Copying I felt was pretty well organized. I still think it would be good to mix up tables, at least on the 2 different days. So you get a different table with different people the second day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just in regards to copying, I think like the setup with the tables and everything were good. I think the cups per persons were good. I think we need to organize the logistics a little better still. Having a water tower at each table instead of trying to take water from one place. Like just having a big one at each table that keeps the temperature, so we don't risk these low brewing temperatures for our cupping, which is pretty simple to do. And I think for the venue or the entire event, it's really important to keep it quite small. I think a lot of us have this impression that at this event you actually get to meet other people and actually get to talk to them, where at Nordic Roaster Forum, with so many people, it's really overwhelming, and you don't really get to know everybody in the room. So
this year we were around 60.
Yeah, I think actually optimally, I think around 50 would be even better.
So you less.
Yeah.
So 60 in total with volunteers and everything.
Yeah.
And speakers and everything. So we are 60 including speakers, including, I mean, everyone.
Yeah.
I think we sold 51 tickets or so, and the rest is speakers and us.
Yeah.
We ended up being 64. So it's 50 in the lecture hall, plus everything else, or what is?
I mean, I agree in size. I think this year was really good. I don't think we should get much bigger. Definitely, because it's really nice that you really get to actually meet people and talk. I think you're way more open when you're not. If it gets a little bigger, you're more. At least myself, I find myself standing with the same kind of people more than here, where you kind of. It's a little easier to actually get involved with other people.
I think what I actually felt like we were lacking was that people were not so good at the evaluation. Sorry, my phone is ringing. No. I mean, after Graciano's cuppings, there were like any evaluation, any cupping notes, and people, 60 of the best people in Europe sitting and not saying a word. That was not only for Graciano's cuppings. I felt like this is not good enough. We have to do this better. Klaus, Kasper, and Tim.
I think that we need to have after every cupping, I think we need to have more of a follow-up at the table. I think the person who's responsible for the cupping needs to go around between the table during the cupping and sort of initiate things a little bit as well. Just start to, if you come down and ask people, so what do you think? It's when you're 4 people around the table, it's easier to say something, and then at least people have started talking. And then I don't know how much the people who did the lecture and then the cupping, how much they were prepared for trying to draw stuff out of people, because when everybody comes down from the table again, they're already sort of left the environment of cupping, and then you sit down and you're away from the people you're cupping with, so it's sort of hard to start talking about what you just experienced. Where if you're still at the cupping table, my experience is that people talk much more freely. You have this feeling that, yeah, I think this one had a raspberry, and you go and you just take another sip, and everybody's like, yeah, okay, and you can sip. And I think that initiates the conversation a lot more than sitting down and then waiting for someone to raise their hand.
I mean, I totally agree. That was it. I think we should have the talk at the table.
Tim?
Yeah, I think both in Nordic Roaster Cup and here, the biggest problem with the cuppings is that it sort of falls apart. You have a very good lecture, then you have a cupping, and then nobody's really listening to what we are actually cupping. It sort of slides out to a coffee break or whatever. I think maybe if we had, because we have a cupping table leader, so if we forced every single leader to sort of sum up what the table thought of the copies or something like that. And also, like Klaus is saying, having, because this is quite small, so it's actually possible. At the Nordic Roaster Cup, it's hard to go to 20 tables and it will take too much time.
Yeah.
I think it would be good to see perhaps the cupping done first before the lecture, especially if the cupping is the real focus of the lecture itself. That could open up more discussion as well, if that's the case, if that's what's required of the lecturer.
Morten and Sonja?
No, I mean, it was almost what you were saying, Tim, but I think maybe we can be better. I mean, the people that are actually organizing the cuppings or that are connecting it with some kind of lecture, we can also be better in trying to define what we want to achieve with the cupping. So it will be easier to, you know, initiate the discussions maybe through the table leader or something. So
I was really happy about the event. I wasn't there last year, but I hear that everything that you were asking for last year was actually this year. So I think this event was, you know, excellent. About the, I thought the last part that we did, you know, cupping those 4 Kenyan coffees from different roasteries, that was actually very good because it's, you know, the people at the table are actually working together. So that was, you know, backing up what Klaus was saying. So that was a really good task. And I absolutely like that we don't have any competition. Thank you for that.
But what you're saying there is interesting, because I was thinking when we had...
Can we please repeat it? Because I was... Felipe is on his way from calling. Sorry.
You want me to repeat what I was saying?
Yes, please. Make it a bit shorter, Sonja.
Okay. Okay, I like the event.
Thank you.
Good morning. Well, for me personally, I was, because I wasn't there last year, I was hoping that we would have a little bit more connected to roastery, but and to our daily jobs, like talking about, you know, more focused on roastery. But I like the origins and everything around that. That's something that we don't have many chance to listen to and be a part of. When we were the last part where we were cutting it's like the repeat thing. The last part when we were cutting the 4 roasteries, that was actually my favorite one because we were working together with the cuppers. We were, you know, breaking it down to sweetness and acidity and just like having these discussions, and that was like a really good cooperation among the table. Yeah, so.
And then I was starting saying that in my mind, that was a very, very interesting discussion. And I was wondering when we had it, if we were too polite, were we saying what we felt? Because we didn't calibrate in the beginning saying what was good and what was bad. But you had coffees, you had people in groups agreeing that somebody had a 2. 2 out of 10 in my mind must be really bad. And 9 is in the other end. So we had a range on the evaluation from 2 to 9. That's a really big. So do we have to calibrate all of us saying what do we taste?
Morten, we talked about that yesterday. Can you tell me what we talked about?
Yes.
what part?
What time is that?
Well, that was more that the way we built up the road philosophy. We're just talking about how can we do it even better. And something about the order of the whole presentation. So we should have gone into each and every coffee, seen the Roaster charts, and then after that, actually telling what the coffees were. So people would have a more inside knowledge of what we're tasting.
Yeah, I think what we were talking about is that maybe instead of having, let's say, a competition in between, it wasn't a competition, but still it was like presented from, you know, 4 different roasteries. you could have 4 different roasters, still from the same companies, but a roaster that is kind of the owner of the kind of profile, explaining what it is in kind of, so it's more like it's not about make it to the best, or, you know, it's about trying to, in a better way, transfer your philosophy connected to the graphs, and I don't know, that was what we discussed yesterday, right?
Yeah, well, I think, I said this was my favorite part, but that doesn't mean, that we can do it better. It was like from 1 to 10, and me as a judge is like, you know, what is a 10? That's the best. So we kind of, so none of our coffees on our table was below 5 because they didn't deserve more, lower score. So I think maybe the execution of the whole thing wasn't clear for everybody. And so maybe, although this was fun, it was maybe not clear what is a 10 and what is like.
I think on that note, I think if we want to use a scale like 1 to 10, we need to calibrate. Or we should, if we have 4 coffees without calibrating, we can rank them, because then we have something to compare. But using a scale from 1 to 10 without being calibrated is difficult.
Okay, we have Haley and Tim.
In general, about cuppings, in my mind, every cupping has to be finished with evaluation sheet. In every cupping, if you want to have result, and if you would like to people express what they feel, there has to be evaluation sheet. For example, 1 to table, or 1 to like 4 people, or that if you have been writing down something, then you can express it.
Yeah.
And the second thing, now I'm very unpopular, but in my mind, why people didn't talk about the cupping results afterwards were because they actually didn't like the samples.
Bam.
What, the actual copy?
And we don't
Or-
want to say bad words about coffees. We would like to talk only about nice things and good things in coffee, and that's why we didn't talk.
Tim, Klaus, Kasper, Linus, and Alex.
Which did me? Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people are afraid to criticize coffee samples. That's not what I was going to say. I think the roast, the last exercise were watching curves and everything. For me, it was slightly interesting, since the roasters are so different, and it's impossible to actually take it home and do something about it. So maybe we should have one roaster trying to do many different curves and just evaluate that. Just select any roaster and have them do a lot of trials with a certain coffee with the crops to charge. Because I think you will learn a lot more from that than having one coffee from Loring, one from 5 kilo, and so on.
Jeg tror faktisk, det var Kasper først.
I think that if we want to get more out of the cuppings, I think we need to use cupping sheets and then collect them, because then whoever wants any info on it can get it afterwards. If Graziano wants to have feedback on his coffee, then that would, make everyone do it. Also, if you need to score, I don't know what kind of, if you should just use the CAE cupping sheets or whatever, but at least we have something, and you cannot force yourself to really evaluate the coffee in every way.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to what you were saying about the bad samples that didn't apply. I think you're totally right that some of the samples were like roasted too badly to really get something out of the coffee. Felipe was also apologizing for his roast beforehand and saying that it was tricky, you get one shot to do it right. So I think we just need to be better at, organizing the sample roasting. There's protocols for sample roasting for COE and stuff like that. So we just try to be better at getting that organized. It is a tricky thing, and you see it in copying competitions always that there's some samples that unfortunately haven't been roasted. But I think it's a pretty simple thing to change really. But I think you're right. I think I heard it around the table as well. That, what can we really get from this?
And that's why it was silent.
Yeah.
I think somebody was asking in the audience, from audience, what did you like about coffees? Silence. Linus?
It's a bit in line with what Tim said as well, and also with Klaus, but I think also that it was a good thing that we opened up talking now mostly about the last lecture with Morten and Andreas and the whole evaluation of the curves. I think it was good that we had it now to open it up a bit broad, but I think that it could be narrowed down very much. And then maybe the discussion could be opened up afterwards for discussing more different parameters, different curves, and different taste parameters. But I think it could help also people. I think people would dare more to say, be more frank about one specific thing. Because then you have the chance to narrow and be very specific on that thing. And you don't have to feel that I'm complaining about the whole thing. So I would like everything to be narrowed down a bit for next year. But I think it was good to start with this.
More comments?
Okay, 2 comments. Couple Excellence has a pretty good format at evaluating topics. So, like, you sit down in a group and people raise their hands if they scored a certain score, and then some people talk about it. It doesn't have to take a long time. But I actually value those sessions a lot because you get calibrated with the group as well.
Is 2 days enough to be calibrated? Do we just need 1 hour, or I mean?
No, I think you just get calibrated while you're going. Sort of like if you scored a copy, let's say 80 points, and the majority of the group scored at 85 or 86, you sort of and you hear the comments, you probably would learn from that and score differently in the next round.
But then you should be in the same group for the 2 days.
Yeah, but we are.
This is all like for the whole.
But instead of breaking up the comment tables, Tim was saying that
The evaluation is like the whole group gets together. But one thing that I wanted to comment was, I think for me, a lot of the lecturers had to always say like, yeah, I don't have time to go into that. I won't go into detail with that. And that's why I'm here. I want to get into the details. Like, I don't want to get the brief. In Kenya, we produce 3 tons of coffee. I want to get what kind of coffee you produce. If you know what and I think also like after the lecture, there were, especially the lectures that a lot of people had comments and questions. We should allow that to be elaborated and just take the time of the lectures where people don't have a lot of comments and questions instead of rushing it all the time.
Does that mean that we should have, I mean, the day is only as long as it is, does that mean that we should have fewer lectures and more time for questions, or what? Tim?
Just to comment on the lecturers, I think it might be a good thing to now start curating a little bit more with the lecturers and having people submit what they're going to talk about and be able to say to Giorgio, for instance, we know 99% of us know the difference between Arabica and Robusta, and I felt like we were only scraping the surface of his sort of expertise and knowledge. It was sort of the last 5 minutes of his lecture where it actually became interesting, and I think that sort of is a running problem with lecturers both at the NBC and the Nordic Roaster, and I understand the issue is that most people write it 7 minutes before they go on. But I think maybe somehow we need to be a little bit more forceful in terms of at least having a sort of rundown of the summary of what they want to talk about, and to be able to say, right, we don't need the introduction to Kenyan coffee, we're not interested in that anymore, we don't want to know the population of how many people are there, and we don't need the pear and apple analogy because we already know that. So I don't know if that's possible, Björn.
Well, I have worked with Kamau, with Giorgio, there hasn't been that good communication going. And with Kamau, I haven't heard anything from him, since July.
Yeah.
and then we talked on the phone. And I mean, that's always the issue. Work with them. This is what we want. These people know things. I mean, we might not be scientists, but we know so where to keep the level. And you might know something that he or her doesn't know.
Does anyone, but as a group, do we agree with that? I mean,
totally.
for instance, the genetics of the coffee, I think we all know that already, don't we? And I don't think we should be dumbing it down. I don't think we should be covering for every level of coffee professional. I think, like we said in the beginning, we want to keep it for the absolute upper echelon of coffee roasters. So,
Yes.
Us?
It's a fancy word.
Just, just think that very, very simply, at least have people, for example, if you ask every writer to write 10 lines about who they are, what they do for work, then you introduce the speak before they go on, so they don't have to use half their talking time and telling who they are, what kind of work they do in their everyday. So, like, a lot of the speakers were halfway into their time before they actually got to the stuff they were supposed to talk about. And it's fair that, you know, yeah, we should know who it is on stage, but that can be done in a minute before they get on, and then straight to the point.
Yes.
And also, I just want to, furthermore, I think most of us know who the speakers are because we bought the tickets and we read the program. So, I mean, just like short, because we know who they are. So, as well said, short introduction and then get on with what's really
or zero
what
introduction.
matters.
Maybe introduction to yog.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
then you're not allowed to talk about what you do. It's like literally you go straight into saying, we had too much rain in July, so therefore bang. It's like, it's on, you know, no fucking around.
That's always what we want to.
Yeah.
And but yet I'm not sitting there while they make their PowerPoints. So I explain them what do we want to hear, and then I work with them along the way, and then you know.
Yeah, I know.
That's what I can do. I mean, we always wanted to. I mean, 2 years ago in Oslo, we said we are going to have the presentation by 1st of March. If we don't have it, they're out. Right?
No speakers.
It doesn't happen. We've never had one single presentation until they actually were on the stage.
But a PowerPoint is also, that's typically, from my experience, the last thing that people actually put together. But at least to get them to understand that, don't spend half your talk on that. When you sit down and you structure and you make your bullet points for what you want to talk about, you structure that you get to this point immediately. And then I think a lot can actually be done with just meeting up with the lecturers in the morning and just kind of, okay, so remember, you got to get straight to the point. You don't have to talk about all this, so that when they're on stage, even though they made 4 slides about who they are, they can just skip over that immediately.
But actually, I thought that Giorgio was one of the most professional. He changed his slides after he was there the first day.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is, it wasn't what.
I think that what would be great would be just a coaching. Just literally the day before, so the lecturers on the day before, if it's possible, or at least that morning, just sit down with them and just go through the lecture. Because if they're writing it the week before, it's all very fresh. And the other thing is that as soon as we start asking the questions, they don't stop. The information then comes. So it's not like it's difficult for them to talk about what they're experts in. So if it's not so prepared, it may be that we have a sort of slightly more organic lecture, but at least it's sort of relevant information that we wanting to hear.
Jeff?
Yeah, also maybe make like a document that is a little bit more to the point. Because I've never gotten any documents from MBC when I'm lecturing, maybe because I'm curious. I remember I was at the SCAA having a lecture, that was many years ago, in 2003 or something. And then they sent me an email like, we need to have PowerPoint in this format, blah, blah, blah. It was a really nice protocol. And I actually had to submit stuff.
Can you send that to me, please?
I don't have it anymore. That's many years ago.
Find it.
But I had to submit. Short
Resume.
resume of what I was talking about. And if I did it, they will pay my ticket to the SCA.
Just give me an idea. Sweet.
Yeah. More to the evaluation of 212, or should we go on to the Ethiopian project we talked about last year to put into the scene? Mr. Thompson has. Jim?
Yeah, one of the things that I really liked was the sort of panel discussion. I think that format is really nice.
Yeah.
Because the prepared lectures are always very sort of strict according to what the lecturer wants to talk about. But when you sort of put professionals on stage and can just fire loose, I really like that.
Yeah, and I think Gogi did a really good job being the master of ceremonies with that. Just because you've got to be a whip cracker, and cracking that whip. It's hard to get Robert to shut up, and I think we did really well.
But
Yes?
what about the time frame of the panel debate? Should it be longer, shorter? I think we talked for 1 hour and 5 minutes.
I think it was a little short.
Yeah.
I think it was too short.
Klaus? No, Pepper?
No, I agree, a little short maybe, but it's also just good that it just starts a lot of ideas in people, and then you don't have to, it's just at the beginning, but maybe we follow it up later on, because it creates a lot of talks in the corners right after, and I think that
Should we have followed it up maybe the day after?
That's a good idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good. We can come back to 212, we can talk about 13 later on. Last year, we decided to make a project to do what we called some kind of, it's not help, but we have to get a definition of what it is we want to do. Thompson made a group together with Carl, trying to go into the Ethiopian project. And of course, we made a presentation here, but there is one issue in this is that if we're going to do something, we need money. And where do we get that from? So while Thompson is talking, you could all think about that.
Right, so in the last meeting we set up a little committee trying to find out if we could do something that has had the elements of knowledge exchange, support, sustainable support to growing countries. And we pretty much agreed that we would focus on Ethiopia, and as Carl was there, it was the natural thing to take it up with him, Carl Cherboven from Technoserve. And quite ambitiously, we put up the title, the Nordic Roaster Foundation, because the vision is that we actually can create a foundation to go and help these small business projects and support them one way or the other. Some of the Adam and Eve, sorry about that, but some of the groundwork for Technoserve is, of course, the potential that is, especially in Ethiopia, that you have fantastic DNA and you have the soil, everything ready to make fantastic coffees. You just need a little more support in agronomy and washing stations, etc., and can really change the lives of these people. So some of the Technoserve also that shows clearly that wash coffees get a premium price, 20, 30, 40% over any unwashed coffee on the market. So one of the big initiatives is to get knowledge into the Ethiopian cooperatives and also to set up washing stations. So what Technoserve are doing, they're also training people in doing business plans for their cooperatives so they can actually go to the bank and get the loans to set up the different facilities that they need. We were looking at, narrowed it down to 3 options we had to go into some projects there. The first one was to provide agronomist courses for cooperative farmers, which seemed to be very not no-brainer, easy to go into. The other ones were trying to set up business loans for different projects, mainly washing stations. And the third one was to have someone from Nordic Roaster to come down and help some of the unions, Jürgerchef unions, to get more protocol into traceability, cupping, sample roasting, because they have set up some cupping facilities, but they don't function as they should. And that could provide a lot of knowledge back to us as well, to have someone, or it could be someone, different roasters coming down to help set up these protocols. The agronomy program is fairly simple, set up that within short distance from the farmers, every month they attend courses, and then they get a certificate after about 2 years. The program they're having aims to reach 70,000 farmers by 2015. And these are proven to increase yields without use of fertilizer or anything. The price is $80 per farmer. So the first thing we thought, oh, that's a no-brainer. We can just go into that. Whatever money we can get together, we just put it into. So this year we pay for 50 farmers, and then but it wasn't as easy. You couldn't go into that project without actually supporting the whole cooperative. So that was a bit difficult. The smallest one they had was about 260 farmers. So that became a very substantial amount of money. So, but it's still lying there as a project we could go into one way or the other. Yes?
Are these projects sought out by TechnoServe?
Yes? Yeah.
I want to clear it up.
All right, okay. It's just that the way it came about is we said, okay, we want to do something. Can you come up with some ideas on where we could go in and support something that relates to what we're doing at Nordic Roaster? And then there's the option of setting up business loans, which is something that came up recently, that we set up a guarantee for a business loan for, say, a washing station, and going a bit forth and back on that, we would prefer if we could just make an interest-free loan directly to the cooperative, for example. So you pay back in 4 years, we pay for the washing station, and then we pay back in 4 years. But that seems a bit complicated because it has to work in local currency, so it has to go through the TechnoServe's bank, and they have to actually apply for a local bank. They can't do interest-free loans. So what we could do eventually is to guarantee for the loan and then compensate for the interest, so that we actually indirectly are lending the money interest-free, which I think is what we want to do. It's about 11% of the year. And they pay every year after the harvest. So normally it's a 4-year payback. And we had a proposal to support a cooperative, which is called Mankira, and I think Tim has been there in the Kaffa region.
Morten maybe.
Huh?
Not me, but Morten maybe.
Morten?
Not at this cooperative.
All right. Yeah, I thought that Carl said that Tim had been there.
Okay.
Anyway, and that's a typical cooperative with 60-70% as forest coffee and things like that, and no washing station. So they just have to sell the coffee at the market as a natural. And then there's the second project. This is some of the wordings that's taken from the proposal we had from CARS. So there's a big need for providing cupping and lot traceability knowledge and support to the two unions, as they have some system in place, but it doesn't seem to be as organized as they would wish for. So I was thinking different models on that. You could have, he was thinking, okay, you could have one guy or one girl coming down 3 months and doing the whole work, or you could have sort of a rotating system, so we come down for 3 or 4 weeks, each of you, which then I don't know if that's going to secure the sort of continuity. So I was thinking like the mix of both. You have one person coming down for 3 months that gets some kind of a compensation, and then you've got roasters coming down on a rotating basis to support this person 3 or 4 weeks at the time. That's a quite substantial project when you talk about finance. It's not a cheap thing, and I feel that this kind of project we really have to go all in. We just can't do half of the work and then leave again. You know, it really has to be done. But that's really, I think, one of the most interesting. That would meet exactly what we're trying to do for this. So we're hoping that we could already for this harvest be able to support the wet mill construction. So they need $6,500 to do it. They set up a business plan, and they can get a loan at the bank, but they need guarantee. And I don't see us doing this. We have to be responsible financially. We actually need to have the money in our account to be able to guarantee for that loan. But then the good thing about working with the loans, instead of just donating a washing station, it's just more sustainable, and we are getting the money back, hopefully, and then we can then go and support another project. So the big question is, do we want to have this foundation and do these projects, which I think we decided last year we wanted, but it would require some commitments from how do we raise money. We've got some ideas that some of the coffee that is sponsored to send out to the roasters and to do these comparative cuppings, that they could be, you know, you could sell them in your shop because you get a full bag and you don't use a full bag, so you could sell these bags and then the money could go directly to the foundation. But that's one idea, but it doesn't get much money into that one. So
Any ideas?
Yes, first of all, we have to decide if we want to make the foundation and support one of these projects. And when we decide that, then we go to finding the finances of doing it. If we don't want to do it, there's no reason for talking about finances. Do we want to do it?
What kind of foundation would it be? Is there like in Germany they have these kind of all-for-one foundations, but is there a setup cost in that?
Setup cost?
Yeah, setup cost to create a foundation?
Legal cost, is it?
Just curious if you know what it might be, or
I mean, the Nordic Roaster Forum.
it would be part of that.
It would be part of that, yes.
Okay.
So we already have the legal setup for.
Okay.
But if we support this project, it will still go under TechnoServe's kind of system. I mean, it will be followed up
Yes.
by TechnoServe in terms of management.
Yeah, we need their help to do that. We can't do this on our own. So
No, because I think that's the only, I mean, it wouldn't work if you don't have TechnoServe to kind of monitor the.
no, they manage the whole thing, make sure the plaque gets up on the washing station.
So it will be under exactly the same system as they already have with the cooperatives that they are setting up with other.
Yes,
Because we cannot be in Ethiopia controlling that. And they will also be the ones to have the contact with the bank, make sure the loans are being paid in and out.
Because they are there in a kind of limited amount of years. So, you know, if we're going in, let's say it's a 4-year
I'm not really sure how many years they have left. But I mean, if we go into like a 4-year deal, we have to make sure.
Of
at
course,
least,
yeah.
When Technoserve is pulling out, you should have kind of a setup for this taking over.
Yeah, who's making sure we get the money back so we can put it into a new project?
As of what I know, I mean, you know a lot, I'm sure, but what I heard when I was in Ethiopia in February was that they just prolonged their fundings for 3
what,
more
sorry?
years. That they got prolonged. They've been there for around 3 years now working Technoserve, and they had just got finances to run it yet another 3 years. But then they're, pulling out and yeah.
Exactly, so there will be, like, the 2 first years will be supported by Technoserve.
Yeah, and then what?
2 years left.
Exactly.
I think we should really stick to Technoserve and not believe that we could do it ourselves. It's a lot of effort to do projects like this in a way that makes a change, and it's not just a waste of money. And I also think we should put up a criteria on the financing part, that it shouldn't create any limitations on what we want to do. Like, if we want to, I mean, if we don't have any money, as I understand, from the project. This is a zero cooperation, this Nordic Roaster event so far. So, but we want to donate money out from this group of people. So I guess we need to get more in. If that will be somehow making us more dependent on sponsors, so that we have to use more time on listening to sponsors or do speeches, I think.
I'm not saying that, I just
it's just to
find ways of raising money. It could be that we have a month of November or March, whatever, that everyone that is a roaster makes something in their shops to sell coffee or raise money one way or the other for this thing. And if I can see, okay, everyone can raise, say we've got 20 roasters, 20 companies that are roasting, that are really close to this Nordic. If they can raise 5,000 kroners, that's the washing station and a bit more. So it's not, it's not rocket science. It's not huge budgets, and if every year we could, and that's why I like the idea of the loan, because then the money in some way stays there. So you build up, and maybe at one point you have about 1 million krona or 12,000 euros or something like that, and that could do a lot of work with this fairly low amount of money. Luciano?
Yeah, but I think if you write down something that you presented to Technoserve, each part of their project is giving equipment to the watching stations or cooperative, maybe you can counterpart with them, maybe 50 and 50.
It's
and get them
100%. This is
involved.
under Technoserve, so they know who needs what. So they say this cooperative needs a washing station. We don't have the money, and they were turned down by the bank. So, but if we can get someone to secure the loan, they will have the washing station. It will change the lives for 265 families with that cooperative, and they get 30% more coffee. So it's a no-brainer. It's really fairly simple. It's $6,500. It's not the National Bank.
But in this, the reason for me to ask about how to get the money into the project is we can easily take this and ask the Nordic Roaster Cup board if they want to support this with the money from our foundation, which can be done. But do we have an idea to get money going?
Maybe,
If we don't have ideas to get more money in and plan it for 2013, 2014, 2015, this is just the one. And every time we need money, we just go to the big brother, the Nordic Roaster Cup board, and say, please, can we have some money?
maybe one option or idea would be to have all participating roasters from the Nordic countries basically collecting proceeds from a single coffee that they sell over a season, and say 5 crowns a bag or whatever. And this is over a period of say 6 months or for however long that coffee's around. We have a really simple website that breaks down where all this money is going to go, and then we just collect that over the year, I guess. And then say no more. And roasters can choose whether to have the Nordic Roaster Foundation logo on their bag, or just to have it on the website under the coffee information, or You know, they can choose how much
Just
they
be a
want.
sticker, you know, you don't have to spend too much
Yeah.
on that, you know.
So
just-
the roaster can choose how involved they want to be in terms of, do you want the certification or the extra logo on your bag, or do you want to have it just as a footnote in your website? Or
Yeah, and we could
Is-
provide information to be on the shop, you know,
Mm.
what's the project about? This is the washing station, this
Yeah.
will do this and this and that, you know.
Is it interesting to any of the others? It became very quiet.
Yeah, it's, this would be a very easy way to get, you know, it's not a big amount of money, but if all of us, you know.
you can also sort of budget. You know how much coffee you're going to buy at a particular lot. You know how many bags it will be in the end. You'll therefore know how much money. So over the period of a single lot of coffee, as Tim you'd be able to offer, you know, 5,000 crowns or whatever it may be.
Is there,
What he said, but maybe we could agree on a set percentage so it's fairly even.
Yeah, it needs, that absolutely needs to be done.
We could also put up a membership, so that you have to be a member of the Nordic Roaster. Costs you 25 euros, all the money goes to the project.
Special category.
Yeah, whatever, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities, we just have to decide on doing something. And now we're falling asleep, so it must be pretty boring. Brian, would you really change the menu?
No, it should be fine.
It's just to make a point, I know it's probably on the side of this, but I think we have some dreams about changing something out there, which we now are putting into a small project, aside of what we do in our daily lives. But I believe a lot more that sustainability is, if that's what we want to help some people, should be based on business models, and we're all roasters that are in our daily life working with value chains to these people. So I think we could have so much more effect if we work with how can we, in our daily business, our daily trade models, change things to in a business-based way to make sure that these people get more money for the quality of their work. I know it's back to discussions not to push forward direct trade or anything, because I think in this matter, traceable trade is at least as good. But I think working with that issue would be, if we could work together on that, we can change a lot more than just a washing station, one place in the field.
I understand,
Fall apart again.
but there's a situation, there's this cooperative that needs a washing station. And you're not going to buy this coffee because it's just not good enough. But if they get a washing station, they're going to make better coffee.
Yeah, I understand.
So some project have to start
I just think
somewhere
we're
else.
putting our dreams into one small side thing instead of taking it into our core
Yeah.
business, each of us.
I got it. But it has to be something we can, it has to be manageable. You know, we can't start too many things at once, you know.
But we do have a pretty good forum here for discussing how we can set up business models in the business that we actually work in, and how we can, as Nordic Roasters, maybe also be a guiding light for all these new roasteries that's popping up all over Europe and all over the world.
Yeah.
In terms of talking about traceability and funding and stuff like that. And it doesn't rule out each other. We can do this and we can do the other
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. No.
I just think it's important to point out there's a bigger picture that we might miss if we just put all our focus into thinking about a foundation and thinking about single projects.
Got it. Graciano?
Yeah, I was just thinking that maybe if you sell the idea to TechnoServe, that you will have a premium over the good quality coffee that can be copied in the labs that they have established all around, and that the farmer of the cup is funding also this foundation as part of the capital to be returned and be invested again in the same area. Would be really interesting, you know, that the farmers feel that they're part of it. It's not a charity thing, you know, it's a joint venture.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that model could be interesting.
Yeah,
Just
that one
to
there
keep it
has
going,
it's
yeah.
nothing to do with charity. It's about getting some practices and knowledge into.
Yeah, well, when I say if you give a premium, let's say, let's put a number, $10 a pound or 10 cents a pound, that they can put 5 cents like their input, and then your foundation put 5 more. So in that way, the farmers will feel like they're really part of the business. They will see it as a business, not like I help. So I think that's the mentality that you guys have to develop in those meetings.
But there's no consensus about any of these projects? Or what?
Like, don't we first need to agree that we want to do a foundation? Like, just so we have that written out in the recipe?
We decided that last year, but we haven't.
Yeah, I think we decided that last year.
Okay, I thought you just said before that that's how I understood it. But then if that's decided, then yeah, probably be time to decide between the three.
Felipe?
I'm just trying to understand what this whole thing is about and what your motivations are. To think, it seems to be like you're trying to create a foundation to add value to the industry, to add knowledge, to add sustainability for the farmers, and to create and ensure, basically it seems to me like you want good quality beans, but you also want to help farmers. And it just seems like, to me, I guess as an outsider, it seems like your capital, your assets, really, it's you guys. It's not like the money that you guys are talking. I mean, we're talking about, let's be honest, not that much money. And no matter, even if you raise a lot of money, it's still like a small effect when you're talking about the whole global industry. When you guys are creating something that's influencing much more on the whole. So I would maybe, it seems to me like I would utilize your assets, which is your tasting ability, your time, and your ability as thinkers to create the know-how and sort of maybe work with, okay, going to these places and visiting stuff that's interesting, but I think you need to specialize. Maybe it's a lot of wasted energy. I would team up with people that are there and already have a lot of experience that would take you a long time to pick up, and just set up experiments. Just like you're doing with roasting, like that whole little activity was phenomenal. And you spread that sort of concepts of what different roast profiles do. So maybe just tackle one bean at a time, and just learning how to roast different beans adds value to a farmer's pockets, because all of a sudden you can improve cup quality on a coffee just by roasting, or set up experiments. Use the time that you have and the knowledge that you have to think of, okay, let's ask these farmers to do this and this, and then get together at these events and cup it, and then utilize this whole reach and network that you're doing by putting this online and spreading it to the whole world, as opposed to just one wet mill.
Yeah.
Yes. Another idea would be that you guys, the membership, put some input at the beginning, but will be really interesting if the coffees that came out from there could be in an auction that you guys sponsor. So that auction makes enough money to pay back and even to raise more money. And will be something that you guys will be the only ones bidding, and will be your coffee, and your project. Inside the whole projects are running right now in Ethiopia, because you have
I
TechnoServe,
think
you
it
have
will put
Antiboca.
more focus on that region there as well,
Yeah.
as we go in, because even if it's a very small project, maybe some of us will come down for the harvest and see the wet mill and all that. So that will create some marketing sort of value for them already there, I think.
Well, what I am trying to put is the marketing value that you guys can create on that. When you make like the Western coffees and you make a small auction between you guys.
Is the wet mill project what TechnoServe suggested themselves?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we should really be listening to them. I think obviously
we
they're the
are.
ones. Yeah.
We
But
are.
I mean, at the moment it's very convoluted what we're saying.
Yes.
There's like, do we invest time? Do we invest expertise? Do we invest money? Do we do all of that? Who's got the time for this? It's a lot
The
of
only that's
sort of
really
ideas.
demands a lot from us is that one.
Yeah.
Because that's really, but that's also really.
I think it just needs to be manageable and easier enough for us to investors.
Couldn't agree more.
can-
Couldn't agree more. That's why, we sort of try to choose projects that are reasonable, don't take so much time. It's taken over by TechnoServe, but we just follow their advice of what's needed, could have the biggest effect.
But if we took the membership idea, would all of us be paying a membership fee that would go to the foundation? Or would we just say no, if it's 25 euros?
Yeah, well, of
Is
course.
25 euros enough? Is it
100
serious? Is it serious enough much?
Yeah, I think honestly 25 euros per member is peanuts. Forget about it. I more believe in something if you really focus on something like, let's say everybody said there is one date and one morning from 8 till 12. And during those hours, you make public already 4 weeks before that there is, for example, some special coffee, or if you have a coffee shop attached to it, all the revenues done within those 4 hours just by sipping coffee goes to a certain project. I think first of all you raise much more money. Secondly, you can really use that project in order to make good PR for yourself. And like that, I think it's very easy to raise even lots of money. You might be even brief your employees. The employees know what they're doing, they buy into it. They probably even say, well, I'm working those 4 hours for free in order to do something good for something that I really believe in.
You guys could also consider doing something like a Kickstarter to get rid of this, where you have the first coffees that come out of this mill that all of you Nordic Roasters roast, and you commit those as the deliverable to a Kickstarter. You could easily raise all the money to support that mill. And then you have, we talked about underground marketing in the coffee scene. I know in the U.S. people will just be all over that, and then all of the participating Nordic Roasters roast that first coffee that comes out, deliver it, and you can easily raise all the money you need.
Okay, so I think at this point we need to cut off the discussion and maybe sit down in a working group.
We have one proposal here.
Yeah?
This guy is sending 5 of his best coffee bags. I committed to send 5 more bags to funding like farmers and you guys.
Great.
You roast it. We send the green beans as part of the community, The other farmers can help other farmers somewhere.
Cool,
So-
fantastic.
We commit to that,
Thank you.
5 bags from Brazil, 5 bags from Panama,
Fantastic.
Salvador. And
Well done, thanks guys.
Thank you.
Just roasted Nordic Roaster Forum coffee.
And I do understand that everything we're doing is about adding value, but there's no conflict between the two, I think. But we just need, does anyone want to be in that working group trying to, it's not going to take much time, it's just that, sit down, make some decisions, and
You had a good idea. You should be in the group. You collective guys, you had a lot of opinions earlier.
yeah, Morten, Peter.
Any of you guys?
We'll come back to it later.
Okay. Good. Thank you for the Ethiopian project.
So what did we decide?
We decided, we thank you for the green coffee, and we have made a working group with Centric in front, and they will find out what to do with the coffee.
Yeah, I will roast it.
And find out how to get money for the project. Because we know that we would like to do good, but we have to have help from some guys like TechnoServe to follow up on the project locally in Ethiopia. Good. Should we have a run around the building, or are we falling asleep?
No.
I'm sorry, we,
Okay. Yeah, but 2:13, where to go? We've been in Sweden for 2 years. should we try to go somewhere else? We have people that are saying that they might be hosts for next year. Anyone else that would like to be?
Can I just say something for the ones who are considering to organize it next year, that maybe we should have Johan in here.
Johan?
To explain what it means to actually produce the event. It's Jens and me are the administration, we're the organizer, and we teamed up with Johan. We had some meetings, 3 in total. And then we work together from there. For us, it's important to have Johan here, because he knows some restaurants, he has a location, he has all the connections here. Whereas we do more of the back work. Can you explain briefly how
we did it?
Yeah, and how much work? What should they know when they consider?
It's not a lot of work, actually. You've done this really professionally before. So basically what we did, that we teamed up with the people that we work with in Origin, and that we thought would be good speakers and interesting for everybody. And then we just, it's food, of course, everybody has to eat, everybody has to drink. That's about it. It's just about just more or less it's a few big meetings, and then it's just logistics, I think.
And then of course manpower on the actual event.
But
volunteers.
And you were kind enough to have your staff as volunteers. But of course, we always have a lot of people that want to be volunteering. So it's a matter of finding the money for another ticket or a hospital to get volunteers at the event.
But it's been I think for the people working at our place, they really, for them it sort of creates a dynamic in the company that this is happening. There's a lot of people coming, people in the production. Of course, they hear about our travels and all these coffees coming in, but this is sort of makes it more real for them. So I think for us as the value ground in our company, which we sort of value very much, and which you all do, I think that's a really important thing for the event. So even if they're not, they're not specifically listening to everything, they can see that a lot of things are going on, and they understand sort of our role as a roaster in sort of the specialty coffee world. So for me, that's really important value.
Yeah. Anybody raising their hands?
Well, Iceland would be interested in hosting the Nordic Roaster 2013. We talked to Ari Profiter yesterday. It was very short, and it was so she's really interested as well. And since it's like 5 of us are here, so it's like that shows that we are really interested in the project. So I think that we could actually do a good job for next year.
Cool. Thank you. Very cool. The content for 2013.
Oh, so it's the set? I was ready.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay. But I'm sorry we have to leave. Oh, 10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes. Our plane is like 2 o'clock.
Okay.
But taking a taxi.
Mm-hmm. 2 Atlanta.
The content for 2013. What would be interesting to talk about next year? Which lectures should we have? Which cupping should we have more of? Which cupping should we have less?
What is that?
Cupping lecture.
Yes.
How to cup coffee.
Yeah. Good. I like the idea that we had before, that with specific or a few specific roasters get coffee, maybe the same do on their roaster different profiles, that we can compare something, like we did already, but do more on the same thing. Like you get the same coffee, you had to do 5 different profiles with this coffee, and we get 3 different roasters doing the same thing. We had a lot more to cup and find out, okay, what's the difference between maybe the roasters or maybe the profiles too, something like that. So we had more, because everybody seems like this was a good fun, because we talked the most on cupping tables because we had to, and for a lot of roasters makes most sense to talk about profiles, even it's different roasters or something like that. But when we have the same to cup, we really have something we can talk about this.
Yeah.
Would think it would be fun to have like a panel discussion with different agronomists doing with different styles and approaches.
I think we need to start discussing organic practices a little bit more.
Who could do that?
That would be part of that. Actually,
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's
what I
excellent.
was-
I think they're two separate.
Not
Potentially two
necessarily.
separate. I mean, they're obviously very linked, but
What we will talk about is that, you have Kamal presenting what they do in Kenya, and it's still a very old school approach to farming.
Yeah.
It was like 1980s style of approaching that. In soil let's just put some that in, and I think they could benefit hugely from hearing other agronomists from elsewhere talking about how did they find solutions for a similar lack of the minerals in soil and stuff like that.
So are we back to Ethiopia or going somewhere else? With bringing in people to help us with that?
I think we could get agronomists from wine and food production. It doesn't necessarily have to be coffee.
Yeah, with some speaker in the wine industry, I could probably help.
yeah, then we could go into biodynamic farming as well.
Yeah.
Yep,
Which is
biodynamic is the thing.
Is Rudolf Steiner still alive?
Sorry, we won't come.
I was thinking maybe to have some really sharp marketing guy to come and shake you all up a little bit.
Yeah, that would be useful.
Would be nice, yeah. A little bit what's his name from New York Times said about how some of you guys just keep to yourself and don't think about what information is needed to get out to help you grow your businesses and all that. Yeah. I think that would be nice to have that put as well. Not sure.
This continues into what can we do better next year. Nothing?
Perfect.
In line with what we were talking about earlier, to keep it as a small event, I really appreciate it's kept as a much more simple event. And I think sometimes when we want to do things better, we tend to think about what more can we do, and I really think that it's really great to keep it as simple as possible. Like we don't need like fancy food or anything. It's great to have something like with sandwiches and lunch and just keep it to something. Yeah, it doesn't take an hour. It's like we get a sandwich, it's fine, that's all we need, and then back to business.
Yeah.
I think you could probably you guys could probably do a better job in briefing the speakers about what we are doing here, because we had the impression, at least Sebastian and I, we had the impression that especially in Italy they did not know what we're doing up here, that everybody is really focused in very high quality coffee and not in the big industry thing.
Should we say goodbye to the Icelanders? And let's all give Johan a hand for thank you.
Next year, Iceland!
Any last comments? This is the chance.
It was a good year this year.
I heard a few times this kind of call for talking about a systemic business model with you guys. Seems like,
Speak up. I can.
well, there's kind of an unanswered question from our Copenhagen friends, but
About what, sir?
just about kind of direct trade model and talking about it and having a discussion. Maybe it's something to think about for next time.
Yeah.
More direct trade, or what?
Yeah, just the
Well,
discussion.
If anyone wants to sit down and talk more about how we talked to Johan about it, that if anyone wants to sit down and talk more in depth about how we approach direct trade and what sort of commitments you should make, maybe finding this, as we were talking about in the panel debate, finding more of a uniform approach to direct trade. We'd like to do something about that. We set down a task force or something.
Is this as a part of Nordic Roaster, or what? I just need to understand.
That's totally open to, yeah.
Would it be interesting to continue the discussion?
Well,
Or take-
I think it's not going to go away, direct trade, and it was clearly very confused and convoluted what it meant to everybody. So I think the idea that class is putting forward of
Roundtable discussion.
defining it a little
Yeah.
bit, and just sort of getting everybody on the same wavelength.
At least if you want to use it. I mean,
Yeah.
Or it's something else.
Tim?
I don't think this is the forum for it. To be honest, I couldn't care less about labels or whatever. I think any company was interested in using it, and it's fine to use it. Should maybe you should organize a meeting in Copenhagen.
That's what we talked with Johan as well about, that but we just like to extend the invitation.
Yeah, I don't think Nordic Roaster is the forum tonight.
No, yeah.
Well, the invitation is out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that there was a conclusion. I was curious personally.
Yeah.
And you should blog about it or film it, or because I think it's interesting to watch. But I think this is the forum.
No.
Yeah.
Any more comments?
I have one. I really liked the copy yesterday with the 4 different roast styles. But as a new roaster, or if there's a lot of small roasters here as well, they might like to have more hands-on or shown how to get the coffee to taste like you did. So that we actually share the craft as well. So that people who are not as good or like to be better, they might have something really, what do you call that?
But I think
to work with, that they come back and know how to approach it on their own roasters.
I think I spoke to several people over the couple of days that there was an interest in more practical knowledge. Like they like the theory, but also practical as well. For some of the newer, younger roasters that are here because there are so many, people that they aspire to be like, or they appreciate, and they want to learn like, what is it? Like, why do you roast this way? Like I thought the talk about roasting philosophies, it was an interesting introduction, but I think it could have been more as opposed to just like what we roasted. This was the curve, we did it, why? But I think some of the things that Tim talked on about, you find the potential of a coffee, what it can be, and you strive to reach that. Like I wish that could have been elaborated, because I think that's a really interesting perspective to take on roasting coffee.
So last year, we instead of only roasting, let's learn more about origin. Or do we want more? Is that what we're agreeing on?
I think that should continue. Sorry.
What?
I think the origin thing should continue. I think that should be an ongoing thing, looking into the origins and what the problems there are, what the nice things are. So, I don't know. I think it's an important part.
In my mind also, the Nordic Roaster would go like origins and roasting and cooking.
And also marketing and the more soft part could stay in Nordic Roaster Forum. That the Nordic Roaster would be like more professional, focused to coffee roasting agents.
I think that would be a very nice thing to keep that focus as well, because I think we're already starting to sort of mute the lines between what is the Nordic Roaster and the Nordic Roaster Cup. Like what's the difference in speakers? What's the difference in themes? So I think it would be good to have that sort of more clear idea.
But what Thomas is talking about is also getting this down to a lower level, and a lot of you guys are talking about hiring the level all the time. How can we make these two things meet?
Well, we are very new on the scene as well. I'm just having a big mouth, so. But what I would find very useful is something like a mentoring thing, where one of the more experienced guys take on one of the younger guys and say, well, if you have some problems, just give me a call, and I help you a little bit with that. That's what would be very helpful for us, for example.
Yeah, I can say that I'm kind of new in roasting, and I think the level was kind of low, or at least it wasn't too high. I think that I would like to get deeper into a lot of.
Sorry, I can't hear what you're saying.
I'm kind of new in roasting, and I think that, yeah, the level overall could have been more high and deeper on top of it.
Yeah, I think.
So are we going
It's
up
good to
or
hear,
down?
I think.
Yeah. But that means level-wise we have to go up.
But it doesn't mean that you can't do hands-on.
No.
I'm not sure what the hands-on part means.
Group roasting?
Actually roasting?
Yeah.
I think both for the ones that are starting out, I think everybody will benefit from focusing on the craft, focusing in more depth about roasting and about origin. So by raising the level, I think everybody will learn more. So I think it's a win-win if we raise the bar, but go deeper, not the introduction all the time. You know, just, you know what, I'm from here, this is what I do, and you know, just talk about what you do. We already know, like Tim said earlier, we already know who we're listening to.
This is where it's sort of pushing towards a more educational focus rather than a sort of discussion on ideas and sort of philosophies, and it's sort of splitting at the moment, I think. I think the idea of actually roasting and that working over 2 days is really, really practically impossible, I think. Because you can't even cover that.
Well, and what does it add if you have so many different roasters, so many different roast machines? I mean, it's a bit difficult to get a kind of conclusive result.
And there's a sort of insinuation at the moment that the more competent or the more experienced roasters are sort of the ones there to share their knowledge on roasting to the people who are more new to it, and that's a sort of situation where, well, what's in it for the more experienced roasters? They're there just to sort of, you know.
Actually, I'm more thinking about, you know, along the lines that the more experienced roaster, or whoever, doesn't have to be the more experienced roaster. Just go into in more depth about your philosophy, why you choose the coffee you choose, just in more depth. You know, I just thought it was maybe too much introduction all the time. Just scrape the surface. We all know pretty much about coffee, otherwise we wouldn't be here, pay this money for a ticket. So I'm not talking about just educating. I'm talking about a discussion all the time. I'm talking about just doing it in more depth, so we get something more out of it, so the more experienced people get as much out of it as the inexperienced. Because if you go into more depth, the inexperienced will learn from that. and that's the education. But the more experienced will learn about that as well. I find whenever I teach something that I'm good at, that I know, I learn more about it in the process. So it's just about discussing it, then we learn. So that's what I mean. I'm not talking about, you know, teaching and holding somebody's hand.
No.
We're not here for that.
I think one thing we could always all learn from is maybe having some real science around what's happening, and maybe some kind of experiments that, or somebody who's done experiments with testing these different samples and what's happening to them as they're being roasted. Kind of like what Maureen's graph was, but maybe go into more detail with some scientific proof. That would be really interesting for me.
Around the roast or what?
Just around the roast and what's happening to the roast as you're going through the whole curve. Because I think that's something we all talk about, but I don't see any science behind it.
Can we find a person?
Yeah. I might be able to in Switzerland.
Because, yeah, maybe. Like, I went to some of these advanced roasting classes in the US at the SCA, and the guy was literally just reading some slides, and when you asked him a question, he said,
I
like,
could
look,
look into it.
I'm no scientist, so I don't. So I've never found anyone who's been able to, like, I know Probot has done research, but, you know, we don't want...
You don't want something to leave them in.
Yeah, and it's not done, that research is not done for specialty coffee.
No.
Well, there's a foundation in Switzerland that's doing some work, but...
Yeah, Nordic Roaster Forum is doing some work as well, but it's not quite like there yet.
I mean, it might just be interesting in the next year to know what these people are studying and see what kind of results they're getting. Because for me, that's really interesting, because you can talk about graphs all day and curves, but to really understand what's happening is another thing.
Yep. More for now? Or are we wrapping this up? Thank you for having us. Thank you for coming.